This episode of the Fight Within podcast is presented to you by Meguiar's. For over 115 years, Meguiar's has been carefully creating and producing advanced formulas with cutting-edge chemistry to deliver a show car perfect appearance. Whether you're showing on the fairway, finalizing your car for auction, or simply getting your beloved car ready for a weekend drive, Meguiar's is ready to help with their premium car care products to make every automotive surface look its absolute best. Meguiar's, reflect your passion. Make sure to visit them at meguiars.com.
What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Fight Within podcast. Today's guest is four-time Super Bowl champion, Mr. Jesse Sapolu. Thank you so much for coming on, man, and appreciate your time. I know you're super busy. You actually just flew in this morning and made it. I didn't realize that you were flying in from Hawaii this morning.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you.
But
for that.
yeah, thanks for making it. Tell us, for people that don't know, a little bit about your background and like why football, because it's a very grueling sport, and then to play at the level that you played, and for the amount of time that you played, it must have been crazy on your body, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it was crazy on my body, but like anything else, I was kind of big for my age growing up, and I got into some trouble as far as, grades weren't real good, low self-esteem. Mm-hmm. Looking back on it, it was football coaches like yourself now that grabbed me by the hand and said, hey, you have something special that if you just put your energy in the right direction, you can do something or make something out of yourself. So it was kind of a way of me being involved in the game of football to stay out of trouble. And from there, it's amazing self-esteem, what he can do for you, to be praised. My grades started getting better. And I give my high school coach a lot of credit because I transferred to 3 different high schools.
Oh, wow.
Dang.
And the reason why is because I was getting into fights. My grades were bad. But this one coach that sat me down and said, you got something special. If you just sacrifice and make an effort, I think you can go somewhere. And I share that with a lot of people now. That coach, when I was in my math class, the teacher would be teaching, and all of a sudden, the teacher would say, hey, coach, and he's peeking his head in the classroom to make sure I'm there. Mm-hmm. So that made me realize that this man really cared about me, and kind of the rest was history, and I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. So, but how is it growing up in Hawaii? We were talking about off air, and then getting to play for the University of Hawaii. How special was that for you?
It was special, but coming out, I was one of the top recruits coming out of Hawaii. So when the coaches from Hawaii first came to our high school practice, I was so excited I ran home. I'm like, wow, And I lived like 2 miles away, but I was so excited that my high school head coach introduced me to the University of Hawaii assistant coach that was there to look at me. And then all of a sudden, my grades got better. More letters started coming in. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. Like a year and a half ago, I could have been, who knows, bad grades, low self-esteem, getting into fights. And when I got into fights in high school, I wasn't fighting high school kids. I was fighting uncles of high school kids that walked on from off campus to challenge me. So, I still remember those days, and but I'm very thankful for the game of football.
Yeah.
Because and those coaches that took the time, because it could have easily gone the other way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think and we talk about it on the show all the time, is when you don't really have direction, and you don't have, and I think self-esteem plays a big role in that.
Big role.
Like I was just watching A Football Life, and they had one on Tony Gonzalez, and he was talking about how he was not confident and he used to get bullied and used to get beat up, and even on his 8th grade graduation, went to go hide behind a wall because of a bully. And he said that the moment he saw the look of disappointment on his mom's face, he vowed to never want to see that again. And he said, I think it was either his freshman or sophomore year, he said he gained confidence. Like, he started working out more, started getting stronger. And he goes, the moment that he had that confidence, his ability and the things he already had inside of him, like his heart, his athletic ability, they shined, because the confidence was now matching that ability. And I think it's key, especially for today's world with social media, like speak on how important having someone believe in you was for you, and how that made you feel, even though he's a coach, you know, and a person that maybe you looked up to at that age. Like, how important was it to have someone just say, hey, no, Jesse, like, you have talent, I believe in you, you're just on the wrong track, or you're going down the wrong road?
But it was big,
Yeah.
you know, because in the times I was getting in trouble, it was like people kind of push you to the side, and you have that feeling like, okay, and they don't care about me, I'll just get in more trouble.
Yeah.
You know, and then once someone extend a lifeline, you know, and then one little positive thing leads up to another, the ball starts rolling in the right direction, because even though, you know, the coaches before that, at the times I was in trouble, say, hey, you're a big kid, come work out, this is what you need to do. You just go in there just to do enough that you're in the weight room. But once the ball started rolling in the right direction, you start pushing yourself, because you start feeling good about yourself. And not only you know, your workout physically, but now your classroom starts making changes. Like I said, you know, they gave at the Pro Bowl, you know, Hawaii hosted the Pro Bowl for like 30 years, and every year they give a national high school coach award by the NFL. And I would speak at that function, and I always share how my high school coach that changed my life would peek his head into class. You know, he's teaching PE, and for him to think, wait, let me leave my class just to go check the science class if Jesse's in there for real. So once the ball started rolling, there was just no limit. You know, I started accomplishing this thing, and then the UH coach showed up, the Arizona State coach showed up, the Michigan, the teams that you saw on TV as a kid are now showing up at the school, you know, and I'm like, is this for real? You know, and then my parents started seeing the difference. But my parents were old school, you know. I'm hoping that they don't find out what was going on, because, you know, the consequences would be really, really bad. And it did show up when I had 6 Fs one semester. I had no choice. They had to come in, and I promised them I could see the disappointment in my mother's face. You know, I'm embarrassed, and I love my mother. You know, my dad was pissed, but I think my mom got to the point where she was literally afraid that she lost her son to the streets. And when I saw that disappointment, I promised them that if you could transfer me to this school, I promise you, well, not transfer, they kicked me out from the other high school. But I promised them if I could go to this school and get a fresh start, I would make sure that I do the right thing, and then met up with that coach, and the rest was history.
Jeez.
I think that's such a cool perspective, though, because all it could take, I mean, we've had other, like, a lot of different genres of people on the podcast, and I feel like for most people at some point in their life, there's like a individual or a circumstance that has kind of helped shape them to what we see now. And I think that's something that's so cool, because especially like for Manny as like one person to be like, hey, no, you have like self-worth. You are worth more. And like you said, it started changing your own perception. Like, I think that's something that's super huge. And we probably need a lot more of that in today's world, because a lot of the kids out there right now need some freaking guidance. So I think that's super cool that like you had that one interaction. Because if not, like you said, what where would you be today, maybe?
Absolutely. And the thing is, my story is out in the public because I won 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
But what high school coaches do and what coaches at the youth level does, there's kids that you guys just influence so that they can have a career, like a good job to support their family. To me, that's just as successful. I just happen to be an athlete that became a national name because of what I did on the football field. But it's just as important that the other kids that you guys change their lives on an everyday basis that is not in the national limelight. That's success too, because we all contribute to making it a better society. And that's why when I retired from the 49ers and I started coaching my sons, I mentioned that I was trying to learn to be a father because I had a 15-year NFL career. By the time I retired, some of my sons that you played with were already almost adults. So I had some catching up to do. And now that they're gone, I'll continue on coaching young men. And there's a lot of young men that I coach that I look at my wife and I said, that's me. That's me, And if we can change his life, I guarantee you, there's a lot of good things that this young man can do.
That's so cool. That's so
awesome.
Cool.
So back to UH, you go and you play there and you have success. Did you get drafted by the 49ers?
I got drafted in the 11th round.
Ooh.
They don't have 11 rounds
Yeah.
anymore.
No.
How many rounds do they have?
They had 12 when I came out.
And what about now?
They have 7.
7.
So I would have been a free agent today.
Oh, yeah.
But but then again, when I came out of Hawaii, we didn't have a lot of draft choices. We were building the program, and I think if you have 1 or 2 draft choices every other year at that time, it was a great thing. So, but I knew I was better than a lot of the guys that were drafted before me. But it happened that I happened to play in Hawaii, and I promised myself that as long as I have that opportunity, I was going to show everybody what the mistake that they made. And I outlasted my whole draft class. And our first pick was a guy named Roger Craig, who's a pretty good running back.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
But you were in San Francisco, you were around a lot of greatness, not just historically. You're talking about Joe Montana, Jerry Rice. Later in your career, you played with Steve Young, and you're going into they're already self-motivated, going into the team already self-motivated. How much more did being around those type of guys help you or influence you into pushing yourself and making sure that you were the best version of yourself?
Well, it's funny. That's a great question because, you learn that there's different levels of standards for you to become a Super Bowl champion, right? And I was just talking about that when I was in Hawaii this past week, that the beauty about our dynasty, is it wasn't all because of guys from the Alabamas of the world,
Yeah.
You look at Jerry Rice, he's from Mississippi Valley. You look at John Taylor, who was the other all-pro wide receiver. He's from Delaware State. We had a guy named Charles Haley, who's got 5 rings, from the Niners and the Cowboys. He's from James Madison. We had a bunch of guys from those schools. But it's amazing how when humans get together and set a standard that they want to aspire to achieve, and everybody sacrifice to achieve that standard, anything can happen. And I think that was the thing that I learned a lot, and I share with Roman that's a coach now. That I played on the team, because Roman coaches at Hawaii, they play Michigan this year, right? So I already know what the news is going to be. Hawaii is going to get blown out.
Yeah.
So I try to share with him from the other perspective of your father playing on a team that when we step on the football field, the other team was 7 points behind because we build a standard that's kind of intimidating when we step on the field. But so I tell Romy there was nothing special about us. It was just the standard that we set, that we're accountable to each other. We understand that when we go to a visiting stadium, they know it's the 49ers coming to town, so everybody wants to pick that game to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, there are a lot of times when the game starts off, we're taking punches on the chin because that those teams will give us their best shot. And I said, what separated us is the fact that we believe we stay the course, we live up to our standard, and the game will turn at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, it always does.
Yeah.
And when you stop believing that stuff, it becomes part of your DNA. And, you know, and that's what Hawaii has to. I told Roman, when you guys go to Michigan to play the Wolverines, whether the score is this way or you guys are up, for some reason you're up by 20, or you got to stay the course and believe in that course. Play 60 minutes, doesn't matter what a game is. Play 60 minutes and things will fall into place.
Dang.
Did you pick up anything like in watching, because Jerry Rice was obviously known for his preparation and his conditioning and his running up the hills and mountains and stuff like that. Is there anything that they did in that locker room that you kind of picked up on and you're like, I'm going to take this and make it mine?
Yeah, and the thing is, it's good that you bring that up because Jerry is famous for his off-season workouts, right?
Yeah.
But Jerry Rice is the best receiver in the National Football League at that time. So they go out and film his workout, and he runs a mile up the hill, and he takes a couple of our teammates and do that. But the guys that they're not showing are working just as hard.
Yeah.
At what we do. There's a reason why those teams won 5 Super Bowls, right? They show Jerry Rice's hard work, but they don't show the rest of the team they're working just as hard at what they do. And that's what makes great teams, And it's good that Jerry represents us in that manner.
Yeah.
In fact, we had a defensive lineman that was an all-pro defensive lineman, and he worked out with Jerry, and because when Jerry runs up that hill, and it's kind of a steep, it's not slow.
He's like
it's
running
pretty fast.
Yeah.
And so that defensive lineman, the first time, ran up a quarter mile, stopped walking up the hill. And he says 2 months later, when he finally made it up, he actually cried, from the fact that it was such an accomplishment for him. So, but strong-minded guys, guys who hold each other accountable, we don't veer off too much from that. When we make a mistake, it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
There are teams that when they make a mistake, they kind of laugh it off. We don't allow that stuff.
Dang.
Yeah.
What and I would selfishly, I'd love to have you back on and go into detail about those Super Bowl journeys, but I want to touch on having a great career. You had a great career, and there's a lot of like you were saying, national spotlight and 49ers, and a lot of people know that linemen don't get a lot of the credit that they deserve, but a game's not a game without the linemen, especially on offense. You're either not going to give the quarterback time or he's going to have all the time in the world.
The game doesn't start until the boys up front line up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. And so now you have your family, you build your family. Talk to us about transitioning from being a very high level, all elite lineman to that being over and transitioning into normal life or civilian life, as the Marines like to call it.
Well, it was a mixed bag. Again, like I said, I had to learn to be a father because your mindset and everything was dedicated to my career, because for me, it opened up doors financially to take care of my family,
Sure.
right? So when I first, I just talked about the standard that we set and how we do things. And then I came and I coached my oldest son Luke's team, and a receiver made a catch up the middle, and everybody was jumping up and down like, wow, that was unbelievable. I was actually depressed, because I was thinking, really? I'm so used to, for 15 years, I'm used to a certain standard of play that you're not surprised by anymore. And yet it kind of hit me that this is the realization of my adjustment in life. I'm a father now. I have to adjust to being a little bit more patient with developing the kids, and not just that standard that we talked about, that you either do the job or you lose $1.5 million job, that somebody wants, because that was the atmosphere that I lived under. Every training camp for 15 years, there's 4 cuts, You get
That's
the first
crazy.
cut, the second cut, the third cut, and then the final cut, and my rookie year, I had to beat out a veteran that was there for 7 years. And I'm an 11th round draft choice. So when I first came in, they didn't take me serious, right? Because, I held
Barely
on
made
when
it, yeah.
other guys that came before was 4th round draft choice. So what makes you think this 11th round draft choice was going to threaten my job? And this guy's got 4 kids, right? It was his 7th year with the Niners. And I came in and he took his job. And it was funny how innocent I was with those things, because when he cleaned out his locker, I went over and hugged him, and I actually cried, because I'm
Yeah.
thinking, man, I'm taking this man's money to take care of his kids,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But by year 4, year 5, I realized, man, this is just part of the deal.
Because you had to do that every year, right?
Oh yeah, I had to do that every year. Now, my family's lucky from the standpoint, my wife is lucky from the standpoint that at least 11 of those years, we kind of knew
You were safe.
I was saying,
Yeah.
there's guys that are not safe every year.
Dude.
There's guys that we bring in, it doesn't seem like this guy is going to make it to Sunday, so we bring them in on Wednesday. And we cut them the next Monday, and then the next week you see them again in the locker room. That's their career. But they get a game check.
Yeah.
They get like $45,000
Just to play in the game, right?
And sometimes they don't play in the game, but we pay them because they're there for the week.
That's insane.
And then the guy gets well on Friday and Saturday, says he can go. So this guy still gets his money, but he's not playing. But that's life. That's
Yeah.
life of about 60% of players out there.
That's insane.
It is. So that mindset of mine was seeing that year after year after year, and at first I was so afraid of it. Like when I first walked in and I didn't know my rookie year if I made the final cut, I was just proud to make it to the final cut. And then when I walked in and I saw that guy packing his stuff, they already informed him,
Yeah.
and I saw my stuff, and I wasn't sure if I made the team. I needed somebody to officially tell me. And then the equipment manager walked over and says, so you're going to take care of me if I come to Hawaii to visit in the off season? Welcome to the team. I felt like I could have dunked the 2 hands, That's how excited I was. But that's the atmosphere that I lived in, on top of trying to set that standard, on top of the pressure of playing in big playoff games, on top of winning Super Bowls. When I became a father, when I retired, I had to let the air out of the tire at a time, because it's unrealistic, right?
Yeah.
I had to, like I said, I'm not lying when I'm saying I had to relearn to be a father and not be unrealistic. I had to be careful with not being unrealistic with my expectations with my kids.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. We had 2 guests ago or 3 guests ago. His name's Byron. He said it best. I don't know if I'll butcher it, but he said something along the lines of he built a Ferrari engine with what he was doing to come back to normal life and drive a Civic.
Yeah.
But he had built this beautiful engine, and he wasn't able to do it anymore. So he was like trying to find whatever that next high drive something somewhere else.
And totally understand that, and that's why, you see some of my brothers that because we're all a fraternity that played the game. have a hard time adjusting into life after football, because you go from playing in front of 90,000 people, loud stadium, and if you win, you do no wrong, right? Playing in front of national TV in the Super Bowl in front of 140 million people, to all of a sudden being quiet.
Yeah.
All of a sudden being quiet. When the noise stops, is what they say, right? It's an adjustment. And if you don't have a solid foundation of who you are, and that's why we talked about my involvement with the 49ers, that's one of the biggest things that happened in my career. It allowed me to stay connected to the game, but it also allowed me to do all the other things,
Yeah.
My kids call it a BS job, because when they come to the games, I go visit corporate sponsors. They get to eat all the good food up in the suites.
Yeah.
But I tell them, when you have 13 surgeries and 4 Super Bowl rings, they tend to give you that kind of job.
Yeah.
So enjoy it, and don't stop making fun of your dad about it. So.
Yeah. No, it's so true. I think I wanted to bring up what you just said. It's not even related to football, but you just said, like, when the noise stops, that's something that's so relevant. Like, we've talked about it in past also with people, but like athletes, especially, just athletes in general, once they don't have that, they lose themselves. But then a high level athlete, like at the top of your game, you've won everything you could want as a football player, right? Like the Super Bowls, even if you don't like football, you watch the Super Bowl. Super Bowl's like the mecca of sports. So to go from that to nothing, for me, on the flip side of that, I think of like the veterans, right? The veterans that came home, like a lot of my peers, that if they don't have that foundation you mentioned, they get themselves in trouble. They're
lost.
They're committing suicide. They're on the freaking street over there with all the other homeless people because they don't know what else to do because they're lost. And it's something that it drives me nuts when we lose people, because there's really no, I've had this discussion so many times with people, particularly about veterans, but the same applies for an athlete, because we go through similar things, right? Like veterans different, but an athlete, you're, like you said, you're used to this emotional and adrenaline high 24/7 to becoming quote unquote normal again. The vets, your adrenaline 24/7 on a high because you're trying to just survive, to coming home and quote unquote being normal again. Well, those are two different extremes, but there's gotta be a better way, and I'm glad sports are finally starting to really put more of an emphasis on this, but there's gotta be a better way to essentially like reintroduce people to society so they don't be, for, I'm sorry to like lack of better terms, like an asshole in normal life.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a better way to do it. And because it sucks when someone gets so lost,
Yeah, it's better now than when you came out, and obviously when I came out. They're caring more about what they call mental health now.
Yeah.
They care about that stuff. They didn't even know what mental health was when I
Yeah, they're just like, suck it up.
Yeah, suck it up. And that's, I'm old school in that way. I raised my kids that way. But the difference between me and my father is I've had life experiences to where I know how important it is to, reach beyond just the toughness of the discipline and the upbringing, because my kids need love from, they've always had my love. It's just that I grew up under a father that I thought never loved me, but I realized later that everything he put me through was
his version of love.
Was his version of love, and I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't of that, And so it's an adjustment, We're all going through that right now. Like I said, there's a lot of things that are happening now. I felt like I was born too early. There's linemen right now that made more money than Joe Montana ever made.
Crazy.
When I bought a homecoming, I made great money at that time, right?
Yeah.
For the interest rate back then to buy a home was like 10. 10 was a great interest rate, right?
Yeah.
And now it's starting to go up again, but a lot of these guys are making like
millions,
17, 18 million, and the interest rate was 3%. I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
what a time to come out. But that's life, though. Because when I was playing, the guys, you hear stories about the guys that played 30 years before me. They had a construction job after football practice.
Yeah. They're full-time jobs.
It's all relative.
It's all right.
But now you got people signing $150 million
Oh.
deals, and it's like, goodness gracious, I couldn't even imagine.
How about the college kids about to do that, Coach?
Oh, yeah. All the
It's-
deals that they get. I mean, it's tough because you are, on one side, you are getting a free education.
Yeah.
But on the other side, the university and the NCAA is making money off your likeness.
Right.
And it's like, where's there has to be a fine middle ground.
I just feel like the NCAA is covering their behinds, right?
Oh,
Because
100%.
they've made money over the years with the kids' jerseys and their likeness, right? Now they go from that because the kids started making noise, like Northwestern University, their football team started bringing that up. And instead of saying, okay, instead of getting $1,500 for a scholarship check a month and a free education, we're going to give you $4,000 a month and a free education, right? Which now will make kids comfortable, right?
They won't be motivated. They're not going to be hungry.
Well, right now, I know of kids that are signed $2 million contracts that are quarterbacks, right? So if that kid is not a real good person, the quarterback, and he's driving a Mercedes on campus, and he's offensive lineman riding mopeds to go to class. I mean, Coach, you're a lineman, right?
They ain't going to protect him.
And absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Why would I?
Yeah.
Why would I? So the NCAA is setting things up. I don't know if it's going to go to that extreme, but I think it divides teams
Yeah.
here. So.
But they have nothing to lose. Because either way, they're going to say, see, this is why we didn't do it before. Look at what's going on. Or they're going to say, hey, look, it's working great. Like, the NCAA wins either way.
Yeah, it's
It's the players that,
It's the players
unless you
that
make it
suffer.
to the show, then you don't.
But historically, quarterbacks
they always
take
hit
care
it.
of their linemen. Like, they know.
Yes.
Like, these guys are watching my back. They're the reason I have so much time to throw or can do the types of things I'm doing.
I'd say make me the quarterback that I am.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
the funny story with that is, there's only a few teams that went back-to-back Super Bowls, right? So I happen to be on the Niner team that won 2 in a row, and so we won a Super Bowl 24, and I come home and we get these presidential Rolexes, right?
As like a gift?
As a gift. I'm Samoan. I don't know how much. I know Rolexes are expensive.
Yeah.
But I didn't know they were $15,000 at the time. And then Joe engraved it in the back. Thanks for taking care of me, Joe
That's
Montana.
cool.
I think the price just went up because of that engraving, right?
That's pretty
And
dope.
then
Yeah.
it's funny because, he gives all the linemen the watches. And then years later, Steve Young became the quarterback. And we won the Super Bowl. And it was new at the time. But he gave us laptops, and we all looked at each other like, laptops? So we're like, wow, what a cheap dude.
That's
man.
so funny.
We want Joe back.
So, yeah,
That's cool. Do you still have that watch?
I still have that one.
That's pretty cool. What was your more of just like a different question, but different avenue? What was your favorite moment during your career? Do you have like one moment that stood out to you the most?
It's funny because it's not a moment that people think I would pick.
That's why I like asking that question. Yeah.
Because, I played in a lot of big games. But it was in the 90s, like I told you, I lost 2 NFC championship games when the Dallas Cowboys made a comeback with the great Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, and Michael Irvin and that group. And then we beat them. They were going for a 3-peat, and we beat them to stop them from doing that. And then we went on to win the Super Bowl against Junior Seau and the San Diego Chargers.
Oh yeah, Junior Seau.
The next year, we lost our offensive coordinator to Denver named Mike Shanahan, who's the father of our head coach now. We lost our defensive coordinator. So I went to Hawaii to play in the Pro Bowl. After the Super Bowl, we just had a parade, right, in San Francisco. Then all the Pro Bowlers jumped on a plane and flew to Hawaii, which was great for me. It's like local boy comes home after winning the Super Bowl. And I get off the plane, and I'm getting interviewed at baggage claim. your defensive coordinator just became the head coach here. Oh, and by the way, your offensive coordinator
Wow.
just became, we lost 2 coaches while I was on the plane.
Yeah.
They were just at the parade, right? So it was tough, when you set that high standard, people are going to try to take it from you. Kind of similar to what New England's gone through a little bit, and the difference is the coaches that they took from us found some success.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mike Holmgren with Green Bay was one of my coordinators. A lot of the Belichick proteges haven't found that same success yet.
Yeah. I see that's a moment that probably I would have never.
But so we lost both coordinators. Then the next year we lost the best young fullback in the league, a guy named William Floyd, blew his knee up, right? Steve Young hurt his labrum, so we went into Dallas, right? And Dallas has been waiting for us, because we beat them the year before while they were going for a 3-peat. We go into Dallas. The whole San Francisco media that travels with us on our plane, nobody went on that trip.
Oh.
Because everybody, we were without Ricky Waters, signed a big deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. So we lost our starting running back. Our starting quarterback wasn't there. We lost both coordinators, right? And everybody thought, this is not going to be good. We went in there, and a thing that I remember is because I was one of the leaders of that team. And I spoke in a locker room. It's all about us. Nobody believes in us right now. We beat them more decisively in that game, being undermanned, than even the game we beat them before to get to the Super Bowl.
That's cool.
So for us as competitors, that's more important to us than the sexy results, because it tells us a lot about who we are as people, right?
Yeah.
In believing in each other when the whole world tells you you're going to get your butts whooped, So I remember that game.
That's cool.
In fact, there's a highlight out there that the 49ers did a little special documentary on me called Heart and Soul, and it opens with me in Dallas on the bench saying, "Heart of a champion, baby. Don't you ever question that." And that is from that game. And don't get it wrong. I love my Super Bowls, but some of those Super Bowl teams were very special. It was like the Junior Seattle San Diego team that made it to. They didn't stand a chance against us, and we knew that. But that was special.
I think it goes a long way in seems like a common theme is not only believing in yourself, but having a group of people in community that's believing in you and backing you up, and how much further you can push yourself. And how has that type of system or that type of belief translated into life for you? Because a lot of times we go through it, and I've talked about it on the show before. Like, I've tried to do my business since 2016, and for the first 4 years, like, I was living paycheck to paycheck, month to month. Like, it didn't work. I was by myself. It wasn't until, like, my wife started believing in me. I had friends that believed in me. I had people helping me, coaching me, supporting me. Like when you get those type of people around you that push you and make you better, like how important was that on the football field and in the locker room, but how have you been able to translate that same sort of community into your businesses now?
Well, that's an interesting question because, I spoke about the standard that we developed right? And there's a reason why my family stayed here while I was in San Francisco. I didn't want my kids to be around it, because everywhere we go, we get a free meal, because everybody's in good spirits, right? So I wanted them to be here and see the reality of life. And then they just come up on Friday, to visit me every other home game, because I want my kids to grow up not feeling entitled.
I say entitled, yeah.
Yeah, because it's important for their life, but the interesting thing about your question is how high that standard is, right? And then the noise stops, right? And then now you have to adjust again. It was hard to hear people say no, to you for the first time. It's an adjustment. Because everything was yes before that.
Yeah.
Whether they want to say no or not, the fact is, hey, this is Jesse from the best team in the league, multi-Super Bowl champion. Find a way to get it done to adjust to what he wants. Now, when you come back and you start hitting real life, it's a major adjustment. And I know why some of my brothers that not necessarily just played on the Niners, but our union, all the players, they have a hard time adjusting because they're starting to hear no's.
Yeah.
And it really hurts you. The combination of the noise stops, and then you go into your business life, and people start saying, "Oh no, we can't do that."
Yeah.
It's a major adjustment, but you have to find a way to stay the course and go through those no's using the same motivation that you use as an athlete, and bust through that wall and get to the other side. And then once you start finding some success, then you can start building from that standard that you built in my career as an athlete. But then again, me keeping that job with the Niners helped me keep my self-esteem up as I was going through that transition. Because what people don't understand is we do extraordinary things on the field or in the ring, but we're still human beings.
Yeah.
We're still human beings that have feelings, that have insecurities.
Oh, yeah.
Not everything's hunky-dory every day. It's a matter of how you can handle that before you step on the field, before you step in the ring, and block that out so you can focus on what you're doing. And then you come back and you start handling your everyday life again. The better you can, work that out, the better you'll become as a husband, as a father, and when I speak at the places that I speak at, one of the things I touch on is, people automatically think my biggest accomplishment is my 4 Super Bowl rings. To me, my biggest accomplishment is my 4 kids all graduated from college, because I knew I was good in football. Right? So, yeah, winning 4 Super Bowls difficult, but I knew I was good, and if I do the right things, there's a possibility. But I didn't know what kind of father I was going to be.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And to have 4 kids, chances are you're lucky if you have 2 graduate from college. But to have 4 graduate from college, it took some effort. It took some effort of telling Luke, you either go to OCC or you're going to get kicked out of the house. You're not going to sit here and do nothing. But that's part of the adjustment of raising your child, challenging them, making them see that, hey, because Luke was a real good player, but it's his mom's fault that he was 5'11". And he was expecting letters, right? Well, it's hard to get letters from D1 if you're 5'11". But he went to OCC, became an all-conference center there, went to Central Oklahoma, and became the lineman of the year there.
Nice.
So if you just get up, make an effort, and set your mind into doing something, things will usually work out for those who work hard. And
that's awesome.
And that's part of my adjustment as being a father, is I'm using Luke as an example of laying around the house feeling depressed that he didn't get no letters.
Well, I think it's perspective, too. A lot of times we don't, especially me. I think most, I don't want to say just athletes. There's a lot of people that are just hard on themselves and don't put things into perspective, and you're almost your own worst critic. Yes. Like, you could have a little bit of success, and you're still like, what, man, that wasn't good enough. Or like sometimes I'm in the office because I'm here by myself like a lunatic, and I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, why do I have a business? This is so dumb. Sometimes I'm struggling and the account's negative and people are complaining, and I'm just like, why? It'd be so much easier to go get a job. And then I go moments where I can leave in the middle of the day to go celebrate a friend's birthday party or go to my kids' functions, in the dance recital at 10 in the morning. And I'm like, this is why. These moments where I have the freedom to go be at my kids' recitals and be a part of their lives and go, like, my son's coaching a flag football game tonight, and I can go do that because I run my own business And it's perspective. I think enough people don't go do that, or don't go, smell the roses, if you will. Like, they don't get to say, like, wow, those cool things and accomplishments are awesome. Like, one of the best things, we were talking about Mark Munoz right before we started recording, and one of the biggest lessons I learned from him was that your experiences are going to help shape and mold you into the person that you become, into the person that you are. And I think that goes a long way, because it's no longer about you. It's no longer about yourself. And I'm sure, like, football and even in the Marine Corps, like, it's a very selfish thing. Like, fighting, it's about you, your schedule, your diet, your training regimen. Everything's about you. And the moment you don't have that anymore, you have to start thinking about others, not necessarily others, like your kids. They rely on you. They look to you for the answers. They look to you for food, for a roof, for clothes. And I think if you take pride in that, it goes a long way, and being able to translate some of the things we learn in athletics to real life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is a selfishness when we get to a certain point of a career that requires selfishness,
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like I said, I wasn't here to change the diapers every day when it was a 6 or 7 months of me focusing to become the best in the world, right? But my wife sacrificed that, and she would bring the kids and fly them up. They're there on Friday, Saturday. I go to the hotel with the team. Sunday, I get to spend time with them and then take them to the airport. So it was her hard work to sacrifice to make sure I'm in the right mindset to focus, because at the end of the day, I was the provider.
Yeah.
But it takes sacrifice. It's not all happy. You can go to the mall anytime you feel like going to the mall. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes for you to get that done. And it's not. My wife says that all the time. Man, and obviously, you both know the reality of the situation. Professional sports, and especially if you're the team, there's temptations. We go on the road, and whether we're playing in Pittsburgh or somewhere, we get in there Friday night, like at 9 at night, and there's like 3,000 people in the lobby, because they're Niner fans that live out there. And if they're in with 2-hour drive and they know they marked that game,
they're going.
This is this is the one time to get to see the Niners in person, right? And it's funny, let's be real about it. As players, we always know the corner where there's women with leather skirts standing there, and my wife knows that, because my career was 15 years, and it's not easy, because we all laugh because we check in. Of course, we don't check in the front desk. They have our keys all laid up. Yeah. We get our keys. We go up to the room, and then we see the rookies run back to the elevator to go back to the office. And I look at them, and I'm like, man, that was me 5-6 years ago. But those are the challenges that my wife would say, man, these women have no idea. It's not as easy as they think.
Yeah. Well, because they want
sacrifice.
Yeah, they just want what they.
Yeah, they want that limelight that they think it's all, but it's not. Yeah.
Well, you've said it.
People suck.
Yeah. You've said it a ton of times. People watch you under the lights.
Yeah.
They don't watch the preparation. They don't watch the training. They don't watch the sacrifice, the hard work. They just see you under the lights performing, and they're like, I want that.
Yeah, that's it. That's
and it's not realistic. Like, someone would look at you and say, oh, he has business. He's opening up more stores. Like, I should go do that. But they don't know the grind. They don't know he's on the business. We were talking about it for over 12 years now. He literally worked a Sunday, Easter Sunday, behind the bar. And it's like, if you're not willing to make those type of sacrifices, to show your employees, like, hey, like, I'm still willing, as the owner, as a founder, CEO, whatever you want to label it, like, I'm still willing to make those sacrifices. I think that goes a longer way than Ben sitting on his high chair and telling everyone what to do because he's the boss. The fact that they see that, and they're like, that's someone that's willing to set an example. It's like, oh man, like, I saw that, and I haven't even told him, but like, I saw that, and I was like, what the hell is he doing on Sunday working
It sets a standard
that
with
shift?
your employees.
Oh yeah,
See,
like it motivated me.
who's
I was
the
like,
captain
man.
of the ship, right? And
Well, yeah.
what's expected? Yeah, absolutely.
I was about to call him for our last episode and be like, man, it's Tuesday night at 10 o'clock and I haven't even edited the episode. I'm gonna call Ben and be like, hey man, look, we're having technical difficulties because it comes out on Wednesday. Our episodes air every Wednesday
At like 6 or something.
at like 7 in the morning, and it was 10 o'clock at night, and I'm deadbeat tired. It was our first day of spring ball, so I had to be there. I was there at 1:30 all the way to 5 o'clock. Then I had the youth kids at 5:15 to 6:45. And I was like, I still got to go home and eat, shower, spend time with my kids. Like, I read them the Bible every night. So, like, I still got to read 2 chapters of the Bible. Then I have to edit the episode. I was like, Ben, I don't know. My computer's not working, bro. But no, I stayed up until 3 or 4 in the morning. The episode came out.
Which I didn't even know until right now.
It pissed me off because then so YouTube does, like, after you upload it, it has to process the HD version. And so it could be uploaded. So for like half a day, our last episode was only like on standard version. And I was like, no, like again, with that standard, like we have always come out with an HD version. So I was like, nope, got to re-upload it. So the following day, I sat in my room for another 3 hours just watching it. Like, this computer's not turning off. It's going to process the HD version. And I'm sitting, and all because I saw him working on Sunday. I was like, if this dude is willing to do that, like, I know that I got a good partner in this. Like, I got to step my game up. Like, I can't make excuses. I got to go make this happen. And I was like, damn, all because you decided to serve coffee behind.
Well, that's good, man.
Behind the thing.
I sacrificed my holiday. I'm working again this Sunday. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing. I think it's a really cool perspective. And then, yeah, like if you ever were down to do it again, it'd be really cool to hear like more of the actual, like the fun stuff in the game, you know?
Yeah.
But we just want to say thank you.
Behind the scenes stories.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
Good ones.
we're always just big on like, if your story can help one person, you know,
Absolutely.
one high school kid that's lost out there, elementary, whatever. And it does. You can be a grown freaking adult and be lost. And if your story helps that one person be like, oh shoot, like I have worth. I'm a human that has something to offer. Like, let me figure it out. Like that's the whole goal, you know, is one person being able to get something from someone's story. And like anytime Manny and I share, we want one person to be able to get something from it. Because if not, it's like you're just tooting your own horn and running your mouth.
And absolutely, you know, like the way the world is right now with social media and people having brands of trainings, or, you know, with me at my camps, rather we have 150 kids or we have 7 kids, you know, out of that 7, there might be that one.
Yeah.
You know, so I've had that mindset. I think that's one of the positives about me. A few positives about me is I have that mindset of not being disappointed if I don't have the because I know I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
That group of 7 kids, there might be 1 or 2 special ones in there.
Yeah.
That's so
You
good.
give it the same effort that you would give 500 kids. We had almost 600 kids in Vegas.
Yeah, I know. I heard.
You know, and
Sorry.
so absolutely right.
I love it.
Where can people find you? Like, whether
yeah,
it's
I'm gonna
social
do that
media, the website, like where can people go to support things that you're doing?
Well, I have, you know, the Men in the Trenches is Jesse Sapolu, meninthetrenches.com or PolynesianBowl.com.
And we'll put it all in the comments too, but we like to have people say it out loud.
Yeah. We'll put it like on the show description. Well, Jesse, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
I've known you for a very long time. I feel old now. But I'm only 34, guys. Just want to say that. But yeah, thanks for coming on. Ben, thanks
Thank you,
again.
my
Another
man.
great episode. And remember, guys, that everything was impossible until someone did it.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.